Good morning everyone, I hope you're all happy and healthy and well. This is kind of the start video of my environmental Saving the Planet series, and I thought I'd start with a story of success, I guess, a story of a glimmer of hope. And I'll start with another story first, because a few of you were wondering if there was any update about the memory card, which we dived down and found in Worm's Head last week or the week before. And yes, there is. So we actually posted it on Facebook in a hope to find the owners, and it got shared something like 2,000 times, which was absolutely mind-blowing. Genuinely, I did not expect that. And we found the woman and sent her a message, but unfortunately she didn't see it or didn't reply or whatever. I don't think she uses Facebook anymore. Anyway, about 3 or 4 days ago, a woman messaged me and said, "Hi, that's my cousin, Russell, and you have his card." And I was like, what? She sent me his number and I rung him, and he was absolutely delighted. I cannot even imagine what you would feel like if someone just rang you up with your photos that you lost. But the story was that he was lying on the top of a cliff, so we completely guessed the story wrong. He was lying on the top of the cliff with his wife having a picnic, and he went to stand up and knocked the camera and it tumbled all the way down the cliff. And he searched down there for hours, he said. And then he went to the Coast Guard and left his name and number and said, "If you find it, please let me know." But he had this feeling that he might get it back, which is just very strange. So we sent it to him, so hopefully it should be with him in a few days, and he's reunited with his cards. So that's a really happy story for your Monday morning. The second thing is, I kind of want to touch on one thing before I start the main story of this video, and that is gratitude and hope. And I think this year those have been really difficult things to maintain and grasp, and it's hard to be grateful for things when the world is in chaos. But there is so much to be grateful for, and I get quite emotional talking about it, to be honest. Even last night, this is so silly, but I was sat with my hamster and he was just on my jumper, and I was just stroking him for a bit, and he fell asleep on me. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful that he trusted me enough to just fall asleep on me. He's never done that. He was a rescue, so he's been a bit nervous, but yeah, that was a huge thing for me, and I was incredibly grateful for that. But I found myself more and more each day being grateful for things and thinking, wow, that's pretty amazing, and oh, that person let me go on the road, thank you, that really is great. And I think that's kind of what's kept me sane during all these months, is just the little things that you can walk outside and feel the sunshine on your skin. And even this morning I walked out with a coffee and I was just grateful for opening my eyes and being alive, and whatever was happening in the world, it could have been so much worse for me in that moment. And I was so lucky that I'm in such a comfortable country, I guess, and I'm healthy and happy, and I'm lucky, I'm so lucky. And I think with me starting this series, it comes from a place of gratitude for my own safety and well-being and my own life. I'm so grateful for that. I wish everyone could have that. And I think this is where the story starts, really. I think when I look at all the things happening in the world, it hurts my heart, so I want to help that. And I thought some of these stories over the next however many months may be a bit sad and may seem like the world is doomed and we've got no hope, but I wanted to start with a story of hope to show what humans are capable of. And I know this story is only a story now because humans messed up in the first place, but there is hope, and I know there's so many issues in the world that cannot completely be erased, but I think giving it a good start, being grateful for the progress we have made, is so vital through it all. So although some of this series might seem a bit upsetting, I think the overall message is to indicate the good of humanity and the strength we have as people when we come together to solve something. And even though a lot of issues cannot be completely fixed, I think it's important to remember that there is hope, and we need to continue to strive towards fixing and helping. And I hope this series educates and inspires people, because I think it's through education that change comes about. I think if you don't know much about something, you can kind of live in your own bubble and not want to help or change or improve things. But I think with education and the idea of hope, coming together is the ability to change and improve things. So today we're going to talk about the Northern White Rhino, also known as the square-lipped rhinoceros. This is the second largest land mammal in the world. It was formerly found in many countries, East and Central Africa, south of the Sahara. Sadly, since the 19th of March 2018, there's only two Northern White Rhinos left, Najin and Fatu. Unfortunately, uncontrolled hunting and poaching in the colonial area for their horn is what led them to be endangered. The existence of rhinos are not just important for the ecosystem, but they also help to protect other species too. Also, they contribute to economic growth and sustainable development for tourism industries, which not only creates jobs for people, but also gives the local communities opportunities they wouldn't normally have. Plus, they're absolutely beautiful to look at. They are big and muscular and grey, and they roam around beautiful. So the sad thing is, Najin and Fatu are both female, so they are functionally extinct as they cannot breed together. The two belong to a Czech Republican zoo, but they currently live in Kenya and are protected 24 hours a day by guards. So sadly, within captivity, they got stressed and rubbed the bars with their horns, and their horns were misshapen and bent. So when they came to Kenya, they put them under anaesthetic and cut their horn off. And this also helped with preventing poaching, as without the horn there is not as much interest to hunt them. So in the place of the horn, they actually put radio transmitters, and even though this sounds really dramatic, it had the rhinos' best interests at heart, as it meant they could protect and monitor them a lot more closely. So over the years, to increase the awareness and education about Northern White Rhino, many documentaries have been created about them, including an episode called Return of the African Titans and a BBC documentary called Last Chance to See, presented by Stephen Fry and zoologist Mark Carradine. Although in April and May 2012, Najin was put in the same pen with her half-brother from the same zoo, she unfortunately did not become pregnant. However, in January 2014, Najin and Fatu were put in the same pen with a male Southern White Rhino, but unfortunately they still didn't become pregnant. So unfortunately in 2015, tests at the zoo showed that both Najin and Fatu were incapable of natural reproduction. Although this sounds a really sad case, I want to focus on the hope that has been brought with this case. At the end of 2015, scientists from the Leibniz, I can't say that word, Leibniz. So at the end of 2015, scientists from the Leibniz Institute of Zoo and Wildlife Research, along with some other zoos, came together and created a plan to reproduce the Northern White Rhino using natural gametes from the living Northern White Rhino's stem cells. So through this incredible process, in the future it may be possible to specifically mature the cells into certain cells such as muscle cells and neurons. So luckily, the DNA of a few Northern White Rhinos has been preserved in a few genetic banks in San Diego and Berlin. In August 2019, 5 eggs from each female Northern White Rhino were harvested in order to be artificially inseminated with the sperm from a frozen male Northern White Rhino. So in September of the same year, scientists announced that they had been able to fertilise the eggs and the sperm and create 2 viable embryos. This was amazing. So in January 2020 of this year, scientists announced that they created a 3rd embryo, which was incredible, and it was all from the rhino Fatu. So they're currently being stored until they'll be put into a Southern White Rhino at some point later this year. But this is the first glimmer of hope for this functionally extinct species. This is what it's all about. Incredibly dedicated humans, a lot of research into saving a species we previously made extinct. So a species manager at the Conservation Wildlife Programme has said this is an incredible feat of bringing a species back from the brink of extinction. However, they also warn that now more than ever, they are at risk of being poached for their horn. So not only do we have to fight in Africa where their rhino horn is being harvested, we also need to fight in Asia where it is being distributed and sold. So the WWF, or World Wildlife Foundation, are doing absolutely tons to help the prevention of rhino horn being poached and distributed, including strengthening local and international law enforcement and including training people on environmental and crime courses. Special prosecutors have been employed to help combat environmental criminals in both Kenya and South Africa. The aim of this is to help increase the arrests and bring the criminals to justice as fast as possible to make sure they don't reoffend. The world's largest trade monitoring network, Traffic, have been a huge help as well in helping increase law enforcement. So they're mainly based in Vietnam and South Africa, but the ports and borders are massively stepping up to make sure no illegal rhino horn gets through, and if criminals do bring it through, they are massively held accountable for their actions, which is vitally important. So there are many charities and trusts that also help protect the rhinos. One of them was set up in Zimbabwe and was called the Loveld Rhino Trust. This was set up in 2008 and was used to form large conservancies through technical and funding support. So this is also now the home for most of the country's rhinos. It's got 365 black rhinos and 175 white rhinos currently residing at the Conservancy. So you're probably sat at home watching this thinking, well, what can I do? What can I do about these rhinos miles and miles away from me? Well, there is hope. Once again, hope is the theme of this series. You can donate to many charities. I'll leave the links below. You can adopt a rhino, which is just lovely. You can also become a wildlife ranger, which is pretty cool. I'll leave the link of how you do that below. And you can also sign petitions, and you can also work towards training to move the rhinos. There's so much you can do. But research and education is the first step to change. So I hope this video educates you on the Northern White Rhino and the glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel for this species. Anyway, that's all for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, click subscribe for more like this in the future, and have a lovely week. I will see you all again next week.